LeBron James is full of it. And in this particular instance, as it pertains to his son, he is a liar.
He leads the NBA in turnovers per game. The Lakers are one of the worst transition defenses in the league, so that impacts that aspect of it because they're not good at that. Screaming at the refs, yelling at the refs, not even getting back in the frame.
The air inside the studio got heavy real fast. Stephen A. Smith leaned forward, locked in, and said what a lot of people were thinking. According to him, LeBron James tried to shift the blame toward Luka Dončić after the Lakers collapsed against the Orlando Magic. That wasn't casual sports talk. That was a serious charge hitting right at the heart of leadership, legacy, and accountability. For more than 20 years, LeBron has moved through the league with the media spotlight on him every second. He understands the narrative game better than almost anyone. He knows how to shape the story, respond to critics, and keep the spotlight under control. But when someone loud and influential, like Stephen A., publicly calls out what he sees as a deflection, it doesn't stay trapped inside a TV debate. It explodes online. Suddenly, locker room reputations, fan reactions, and even front office thinking all get pulled into the drama. This situation isn't really about one rough loss. It's about what a leader does when the lights are blazing and the pressure is real. The big question hanging over everything is simple. Did LeBron pass that leadership test or not? Let's rewind the tape so the situation makes sense. The Lakers and the Magic were locked in a tight game that should have been routine work for a veteran squad built around an all-time great. Instead, the final stretch turned chaotic. Possessions got sloppy, defensive assignments broke down, and the offense looked stuck in mud. Orlando stayed sharp, closed the game stronger, and the Lakers walked off the court looking confused. After the game, the heat from the media could have gone in different directions. Sometimes it fades out. Sometimes it hits like a storm. In this case, the story started drifting the wrong way for Los Angeles. LeBron gave his explanation after the loss. During that post-game moment, he mentioned a late possession that some people felt pushed responsibility toward an earlier decision involving Luka Dončić. Stephen A. looked at that moment and saw something different. To him, it looked like a classic PR move when things go sideways. The leader doesn't want the spotlight on the mistake, so the finger slides somewhere else. That take hit a nerve with viewers. A lot of fans believe real leaders step up and own the ugly nights instead of reshaping the story afterward.
I just don't know if he's the leader that people are projecting him to be that actually match his statistical output.
And here's the angle people keep bringing up. This isn't the first time LeBron has faced criticism for carefully managing the public narrative. Over the years, commentators have pointed to moments where comments about effort, injuries, or team chemistry felt almost pre-planned, like the message was designed early to soften future criticism. Controlling the narrative has honestly been one of LeBron's greatest skills. It helped him survive intense media pressure for 2 decades. But that same strength also opens the door for critics who say sometimes the image gets protected more than the accountability. So when someone like Stephen A. throws out the word deflection, the debate becomes much bigger than one sentence after one loss. Critics say they see a pattern popping up during major moments. That leads to the real question hanging over the Lakers right now. Can controlling the narrative slowly replace real responsibility? Because leadership problems don't only show up in box scores. They settle into the culture of a team. If players start thinking their leader might redirect blame when things fall apart, trust can crack. Coaches see it. Front offices notice it. Even opponents pay attention. Stephen A.'s argument pushed the discussion past one bad performance and into something deeper about the organization itself. His point was simple and loud. A true leader steps into the fire and takes the heat. The leader becomes the lightning rod so everyone else in that locker room can stay focused and keep doing their job. When that leadership mechanism breaks down, a team's identity starts to slip, and losing that identity is the last thing a squad wants when the games actually matter. Whether LeBron truly meant to deflect or not almost becomes secondary. Perception is powerful. When a leader appears to knock down his own teammates in public, even slightly, it can create cracks inside the locker room. Of course, blame and truth rarely line up perfectly. Stat sheets and game film tell part of the story, but never the full picture. Basketball is layered. One moment on the court can look simple, but behind it are rotations, communication, and split-second decisions that don't always show up in numbers.
It seemed like you implied that he tried to hurt your career. Did something happen there?
I can't talk about it, but that's exactly what I said. It was validated when he went on Pat McAfee's show, because you went on the show that comes on after me to talk about me. and to disrespect me.
LeBron's stat line from that game still looked strong, the kind of production fans have seen for years. Points stacked up, the offense ran through him, and his presence shaped the flow. But basketball runs on rhythm, and once that rhythm breaks, everything can fall apart. In the closing minutes, there were missed rotations, hesitation on offense, and defensive confusion. Those moments can't be pinned on one quote or one possession. That's the heart of Stephen A's argument. The greatest players don't lean on explanations when the clock is tight. They lean on actions. He never said LeBron is finished. What he said was sharper than that. A player who is constantly mentioned in the GOAT debate has to operate on a higher standard. That standard means owning tough nights, both publicly and inside the locker room. This is also where younger stars around the league sometimes get tripped up. The NBA keeps repeating the same leadership lesson year after year. Young players sometimes confuse controlling the media narrative with actually leading a team. They think delivering a confident soundbite equals toughness. But the veterans who win championships understand the real difference. True resilience shows up on the film and inside the locker room, not during post-game interviews. Stephen A pushed that idea hard because of how fast clips spread now. The youngest players in the league watch every reaction from the biggest names. They study how stars behave when things fall apart. If LeBron, a player who has spent 2 decades showing how to handle pressure, appears to redirect blame, younger players might absorb the wrong message. Avoid responsibility, control the narrative, shift the criticism somewhere else. That kind of mindset can quietly poison a team culture that depends on accountability when the playoffs arrive.
Did I think he crossed the line with the incident involving his son where he was telling me not to say anything? Of course I think, because I don't think I did what he said that I was doing. And I thought that was very, very unfair, and it was a low blow.
Now step back and look at the bigger picture. This moment is happening while the NBA is moving through a generational shift. Luka Dončić, Nikola Jokic, and a wave of explosive young stars are building their cases as the league's next leaders. These players want moments where the outcome is decided on the court, not explained afterward. So when Stephen A suggested LeBron avoided ownership and pointed toward a younger player, the criticism sounded bigger than one play. It felt tied to the league's transition from one era to the next. When new stars shine in crunch time, while older ones appear to search for explanations, the conversation about the throne changes fast. Of course, the pushback arrived immediately. LeBron's supporters came armed with receipts. The longevity, the records, the playoff battles, the clutch shots that helped define an entire generation of basketball. They argue Stephen A is doing what sports media often does: take a controversial interpretation, amplify it, and let the debate run wild across TV and social media. And honestly, there's truth sitting on both sides of this argument. LeBron has earned the ability to reshape narratives because his career is built on constant reinvention. But Stephen A's criticism is precise. When the optics of a loss clash with the message of leadership, fans usually want to hear accountability, not redirection. Both interpretations can exist at the same time. The real issue is the media's favorite trap. Everything gets pushed into extremes. Either you defend LeBron no matter what, or suddenly the conversation jumps straight to a full-blown leadership crisis overnight. Here's the angle hardly anyone is talking about. The ripple effects don't stop inside the locker room. Sponsors, league partners, and front offices are always watching the noise around big stars. When a leader's quote turns into a headline that questions team culture, those business stakeholders start paying closer attention. They look at brand stability, long-term direction, and how the face of the franchise handles pressure. This isn't drama for the sake of it. It's real business. LeBron James isn't just another player on the roster. He's a global brand and a cultural powerhouse. The way he reacts to criticism, how he handles mistakes, and whether he publicly backs his teammates when things go wrong all feed into the brand equation for the Lakers and even the NBA itself. That's why Stephen A's comments carry weight far beyond one game and far beyond those 48 minutes on the court. So where does all of this leave us? Right back at the same debate sports fans always circle back to. How do we measure greatness? Is it all about numbers, records, and stat lines? Or does true greatness come from owning the toughest moments when everything falls apart?
Losing habits. I think he has bad habits. And there are two interesting factors that I think really play into his impact on the game is not aligned with the statistical output.
Stephen A framed his argument with a clear demand. If someone wants the GOAT crown, there can't be a pivot after a collapse. According to that mindset, the leader stands in the wreckage, faces the cameras, and answers for everything. LeBron has spent years mastering the art of controlling the narrative. That skill helped him survive the most intense spotlight the NBA has ever seen. But Stephen A. insists that some nights call for something simpler. No strategy, no framing, just straight accountability in the court of public opinion. That argument hits fans because it feels raw and direct. People want leaders who step forward when things go wrong, not leaders who reshape the story afterward. And here's the real twist in all of this. There isn't a neat conclusion waiting at the end. This story forces everyone watching to pick a side. Do we demand a higher standard from superstars and expect full accountability? Or do we accept that controlling the narrative is just part of modern leadership in sports? If you agree with Stephen A., you'll point straight to the film, break down the late-game possessions, the defensive moments, the crunch-time choices, and demand public ownership.
I asked Luka what he saw on that, but I thought he had a good look, and it looked like he kind of just lost his balance, didn't have a rhythm with the ball, whatever the case may be, and it kind of allowed him to get back in front of him. And I was kind of off balance when he gave it to me. I thought he had a great look, but that's what I look. That's my POV.
If you're defending LeBron, you'll bring up 2 decades of evidence: championships, clutch performances, leadership through roster changes, and one of the most consistent careers the sport has ever seen. Sitting on the fence doesn't make this debate interesting. The best sports arguments are loud, detailed, and backed with receipts. Bring the clips, the quotes, the play sequences, and the context. Was LeBron really redirecting blame after the loss to Orlando? Or was Stephen A. pushing a headline that ignored the bigger picture? Pick your side and stand on it. Because this debate isn't disappearing anytime soon. It's turning into one of the season's biggest storylines, and how LeBron responds not to the critics, but to the film. And the next big moment will decide everything. Will this fade away as a minor footnote, or grow into a defining chapter of his legacy? Now let's push the conversation even deeper, because the real tension around this moment isn't just about one quote or one loss. It's about pressure, legacy, and the brutal spotlight that follows superstars when the stakes start rising late in the season. Every possession gets dissected, every comment gets replayed, and every reaction becomes a storyline. For LeBron James, that microscope has been pointed at him longer than almost any athlete in modern sports. 20-plus years of cameras, debates, and expectations. That kind of spotlight changes how every moment is interpreted. A simple explanation after a loss can suddenly look like strategy. A casual comment can get framed like a calculated move. That's part of why Stephen A.'s accusation caught so much traction so quickly. When someone with that kind of media presence says a superstar is redirecting blame, fans don't just hear criticism, they hear a challenge to the image that player has built for decades. And here's where things start getting complicated. Leadership in professional sports doesn't always look the way fans imagine. Sometimes, a leader calls teammates out privately and protects them publicly. Other times, the message inside the locker room is much harsher than anything said to reporters. That's why some people inside the basketball world push back on these debates. They argue that outsiders rarely see the full picture of what leadership actually looks like day to day. But perception still matters. In today's NBA, the public narrative moves almost as fast as the game itself. Clips spread across social media within seconds. A 5-second soundbite can shape how millions of fans interpret a situation before the full context even appears. So when LeBron mentioned that late possession after the Orlando loss, the internet instantly split into 2 camps. One side saw a player explaining the sequence of the play. The other side saw a subtle shift of responsibility. Stephen A. jumped straight into that second interpretation, and he did it loudly. His argument wasn't really about the play itself. It was about the symbolism behind it. In his view, the greatest leaders don't leave any room for that kind of interpretation. They step up and say, the loss falls on them, period. Now, whether people agree with that standard or not is where the debate really explodes, because basketball history is full of legends who handled losses in very different ways. Some icons absorbed every ounce of blame publicly. Others broke down the game in detail and pointed to specific plays or mistakes across the team. Both approaches existed across championship dynasties. That's why this moment sits right in the middle of a philosophical clash about leadership. Is the leader supposed to protect the locker room image at all costs, even if the explanation becomes overly simple? Or is it fair for a leader to talk honestly about what happened on the court, even if that explanation involves other players? The Lakers situation adds even more tension to that question. This isn't a rebuilding team quietly learning lessons. This is a franchise that measures seasons and championships. When expectations sit that high, every comment from the face of the team carries extra weight. Fans, analysts, and rivals all start searching for signals about confidence, chemistry, and accountability. And that's exactly why Stephen A's comments landed like a spark in dry grass. The conversation quickly expanded beyond that one loss to Orlando. Suddenly, people were asking bigger questions. What does leadership look like at this stage of LeBron's career? How does a veteran superstar guide a team while a new generation of stars is rising across the league? Those questions don't have quick answers, but they do guarantee one thing. Every upcoming Lakers game will now be watched through a sharper lens than before. Every late-game possession, every post-game comment, every reaction from teammates will get analyzed in slow motion. Because once a narrative like this enters the conversation, the spotlight only gets brighter. Now everything comes down to what happens next, because debates like this don't really get settled by talk shows, social media threads, or heated studio arguments. They get settled on the hardwood when the lights are bright and the clock is ticking. LeBron has lived in this exact moment his entire career. Pressure, criticism, and expectations have followed him from Cleveland to Miami to Los Angeles. Every era of his career came with people doubting something. Too young, too passive, too controlling, too old. Yet every time, the response usually came the same way, through performance. That's why the next stretch of games suddenly carries extra meaning. Not because of one loss to Orlando, but because the spotlight has shifted again. When critics start questioning leadership, the only answer that truly lands is what happens during the next big moment. Will LeBron step into those late-game possessions and slam the door shut? Will the Lakers tighten up their rotations, sharpen their offense, and show the kind of chemistry that quiets the noise? Or will the questions keep growing louder every time a close game slips away? Those answers can't be explained in interviews. They have to show up in the film, possession by possession, play by play. And make no mistake, the rest of the league is watching closely. Rival teams smell opportunity whenever a contender looks uncertain. Young stars trying to claim the spotlight are hungry for moments where they can prove they belong at the top of the league. That's the brutal cycle of sports greatness. The throne is never protected forever. Every season, every game, and sometimes every possession becomes part of the argument about who truly owns the moment. So now the conversation shifts back to the court, because if LeBron responds with dominant performances, clutch leadership, and clear accountability, this entire controversy could fade into the background fast. But if the struggles continue, critics like Stephen A will only get louder, and the debate about leadership, accountability, and legacy will keep circling every Lakers headline. That's what makes sports debate so intense and so addictive. There's always another game, another chance to prove people wrong, another moment where the narrative can flip completely. Now we want to hear from you. Was Stephen A right to call out what he saw as deflection, or are critics overreacting to one comment after a tough loss? Drop your take down in the comments and bring your evidence. Break down the plays, the quotes, the late game moments, and let everyone know where you stand. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with other basketball fans who love a real debate. Your support helps the channel grow and keeps these conversations going. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.